Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Bedford Savannah apartment in Brooklyn, New York, in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the Uncanny Chris.
And I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance, assemble. All right, volume 77. Yes, DC Alliance, we are now back up and equal with you with episode counts. Those Disney Plus double weeks with movie reviews have allowed us to catch up. So it's finally it's nice to be caught up with our brethren.
I was listening and they're like, aren't they way behind us? What milestone did they hit? I'm like, guys, just look at the feed. 75. That's the one you were talking about. Just look at the feed. But yes, we are. I know that they were ahead of us for a while there, but we have valiantly made our comeback, if you will.
Made our comeback, and it's been fun. We've got a lot of news and a trailer to break down this week. We delayed that just because, you know what? We just wanted to wait and let everyone soak in the glory that is the Morbius trailer. So, how's your week been so far?
It's good. It's nothing too exciting, but tomorrow's the exciting day. That's ask me. Tomorrow night how my week's been, because it's all based on tomorrow at this point. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Exactly. Yeah, we got some news today. We got some news coming tomorrow that we'll talk about what we're going to do with it next week, or this coming week. So let me get those plugs out of the way. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows. On Mondays, we got My Show, World's Finest True Believers, alternating bi-weekly with Ranger Alliance. This week, I dropped a new episode with your co-host from Fans Without Borders, Ray, coming back on to look at Funeral for a Friend / World Without a Superman. So we had a nice conversation about that. So make sure you check that out. Ranger Alliance will be back on next week with a new episode. Tuesdays, DC Alliance. Wednesdays, Superhero Discussions. Thursdays, Star Wars Alliance. Fridays is the show Marvel Alliance. And Saturdays, bi-weekly is a walk through the multiverse. And Sundays, bi-weekly is Slice of Film. So make sure you check all those feeds out. DC Alliance, Star Wars Alliance, and the show Marvel Alliance have their own solo feeds. If you just want to listen to those particular shows or join the whole Geek Ultimate Alliance feed, we really appreciate it. We have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we have 2 tiers. The $1 tier is our tip jar. So if you want to throw it into tip jar saying, hey, we're doing a good job, we appreciate that. And then we've got our $5 tier that gives you early access episodes, ad-free episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes. It has not dropped yet, but it is recorded. It is in the can. The last Ronin number 4 has been recorded, and we look forward to you all finally listening to it. Thank you for bearing with us. A lot of schedule conflicts that finally recorded it this weekend. So look for it in the feeds and the Patreon feed. So again, thank you, patrons. We can't do this without your support.
You guys have been talking about that one for a long time.
Mr. Hines has been talking about it for pretty much an eon at that point. I stopped talking about it at a certain point, saying, we'll record it. I'm just going to stop looking silly when we're saying, we're going to record it. So,
yep.
So I'm glad it finally, Clay was the one who finally said, we're doing it this weekend. And I said, all right, we're doing it. So it is out there. Hopefully it'll be out there soon. If you can't join us on Patreon, totally understand. But if you can take 30 to 90 seconds and rate our the solo feed of Marvel Alliance and or the Geek Ultimate Alliance feed on Apple Podcast or whatever platform of choice may be, we greatly appreciate it. And now for our sponsors, we got to plug them. They help support the show. First up, we have organicpricebooks.com for all your omnibus hardcover needs. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Use it unlimited amount of times. It lets them know that you are a listener, and we greatly appreciate JP and the crew over at OPB. We check out organicpricebooks.com. And then next up, Manscaped. 20% off all your orders on manscaped.com plus free shipping with the code GUAPOD. Again, the holidays are coming up. For all your manscaping needs down below the belt, please consider using Manscaped, the best that you can ever do for your, I think they said your family jewels, I guess.
So, yep.
All right. So again, we appreciate all the support going on with that. Some housekeeping. We have some housekeeping to do. First, thank you to all the listeners, new
Yes.
and old, that
Yes.
have downloaded our Eternals review. Brent, I know you maybe have those numbers quicker than I do. It is our biggest 72-hour for the solo feed. In comparison, I mean, our next closest for that was Black Widow, but for the solo feed, how many in 72 hours?
Oh, I'm still working on it, but it's definitely the highest.
I know right now we're standing at pretty much
Pull that up.
around or at 350 for the solo feed download.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't prepared with the
Yep.
actual numbers.
Yep, you're good.
I got box office numbers. Where is that note? Okay, it is. It looks like 272 is what it hit on the solo feed in the first 3 days. So that is definitely pretty significant growth over time. You know, we were seeing the numbers hit on the back end within that first week, but getting them that first 3 days is really, really great for the show and really helps it. So thank you so much to those of you who've been listening and sharing the show. It is super appreciated.
Yeah, we wanted to, again, for those of you that are just joining us and continuing on, welcome to the Alliance. We appreciate it. And also want to give a big shout out to our brothers over at the Geekverse podcast. Thank you, everyone who participated and donated to the charity stream. I had a great time given all my questions at that point. I know, Brent, unfortunately, you were on Team Wolf and they did not prevail. However, you all made a tremendous comeback. you made a tremendous comeback in the Star Wars.
It was fun. We only lost by a point, so it was close. And of course, we all know, inch or a mile wins a win. So you got to give it to Clay there for family.
#family.
I'll say this: I thought Fans Without Borders represented very well, and I wish we had kept stats on it, because I'm like, man, I feel like for the little subgroups there, I feel like we maybe just came out on top there. But I'd have to go back and actually watch the stream, which I haven't had a chance to do to verify that.
But yeah, definitely a lot of fun, and it will be coming back next year. But they overtook their goal, over $3,300, and shaved heads all around. Lots of stuff for the kids of the BC Children's Hospital. So again, thank you all. It's going to be even bigger next year. So again, that was great. Disney Plus Day is coming up. If you're listening to this tonight, it's tomorrow. If you're listening to this tomorrow morning or Friday morning, it is already currently happening. The Marvel quote unquote event feature will be dropping 11:45 Eastern Standard Time on Disney Plus. So
is that what it said? 11:45. I've been trying to find like an official schedule for it.
I'll kind of have to. I'll send it to what I've been seeing. But yeah, 11:45 Eastern Standard Time. It will drop on Disney Plus. But they also will have like Shang-Chi, the making of the movie, new Legends for Hawkeye, a few other things from Marvel already dropping at 12 a.m. Either Eastern Standard Time or 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of stuff will already be dropping, but that featurette that Brent and I are looking forward to will be right before lunchtime at that point. So the question is, what are we going to be doing about it? Unfortunately, my plans, Friday night, we will not be doing anything on Friday night because I have a football game to supervise, but I think we're looking at possibly recording something Saturday night to drop in the feeds on Sunday with our analysis. So we'll do a 0.5 episode with all the goodies.
0.5.
We'll do a 78. You want to do a 78? We'll call it 78.
That's 0.5 nonsense. Get out of here with that.
Okay.
That's a DC thing.
It's a DC thing. Okay, well, we will do a proper breakdown of it, extra special for you this weekend. So check that out. As long as internet plans hold up, that will be what we're doing. And some Spider-Man No Way Home kind of changes for the show at that point. Brent, why don't you kind of talk about that?
Well, we're on trailer watch for one thing, and we don't do this with every movie, but not every movie is about one of the greatest fictional characters of all time. So if we can swing it, we're gonna do a show when the trailer watch happens. When that trailer drops, we're gonna do a show. Someday next week, probably. We think. It's the way it's looking. It makes sense. Ghostbusters is next week. Ghostbusters is Sony distributed. Spider-Man is the next Sony distributed film, or at least the next blockbuster from them. I don't know if they have something small. Everything makes sense to drop the trailer next week. So they probably won't do it because nothing about this marketing has made any sense whatsoever. But regardless, I've already informed my wife, if it happens, if there's a trailer next week, sorry, I'm out for whatever the plans were. It's recording night.
It is at that point. But we're also making a few changes to the show because of the leaks that have occurred this week. And so we are going to be, we will still be doing Fact or Fictions on this show. However, we will not be posting them just because we've had in the past some people who just want to be mean and cruel and things like that on some of the responses. Yeah, we can ignore them, but some people just want to troll us and do that. So we won't be posting Fact or Fictions, but we will be still doing them on the show. Also, due to that fact too, Brent will not be asking for questions coming into the live feeds. However, if you have been a mutual of us and want to shoot us some questions at that point, either DM or communicate through us through that point, we will be glad to do it. But also stay away from No Way Home stuff. You may have seen the leaks. We have not, and we don't want to necessarily read into the stuff at that point. So we're going to hold off. But after No Way Home, it drops in December, we're going to bring back that kind of stuff for the fans. But we appreciate it's just a way for Brent and I to still be as
staying in the bubble.
Stay in the bubble as much as possible.
Yeah, if you've seen me tweet lately, I'm not looking at the replies, so don't. I mean, you can reply to it, but I'm not going to see it for a few more weeks. So I've hopped in a couple times to say a couple things and then hopped out. Or I've, you can tweet without actually opening the app if you have the correct other settings up. So Clay, I haven't heard from Brett. Oh, that's not true, Clay. Come on.
You're in the same chat that we all are.
But even that, I'm not going into it as often, and I've taken steps that when I open Twitter, it takes me straight to it. But regardless, I'm trying to be as careful. So please don't spoil the end game, right? They called it Spider-Man's end game. Don't spoil the end game.
Yeah. So again, if you're in the chat with us at that point, our regulars, what we're saying. We appreciate it. But for any new people at that point, they're joining us live, don't be a jerk about it. We'll respect you. Just respect our wishes. Of anything No Way Home spoilers that you know about that have not been officially released, keep it to yourself. We appreciate it. So, all right. So let us go into our main topic tonight. Is this lovely Morbius trailer. So let me pull it up on our feeds right there. So I'm going to change a couple of windows while I'm at it so that I can look at my notes while viewing this trailer at the same time, if we want to call it that.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So I've got it queued up for those of you watching. As always on the show, we can't do it a full view at that point, but we can, just watch and enjoy. So let me fix a couple of things here. All right. Gotta love technology when it works for you and then when it doesn't. So, all right. Can you see it on your end, Brent?
Yep, I got it.
All right. Nope, did not want to do that. All right. So if you are ready, I will hit play on my end.
Hit it.
No sound. A new Marvel legend. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Hyperbolic right out of the gate.
Yep. New Marvel legend arrives. Marvel legend. Let's wait on that one there, Sony. So the music that's playing here is People Are Strange by The Doors, so appropriate. And the thing, if you aren't familiar with Michael Morbius from Spider-Man at that point, he's trying to find a cure for a rare blood disease from a rare vampire bat species.
Yeah, he's like a vampire, but like from science more, not from a lab accident, if you will. Not like a supernatural vampire, like Dracula.
So, I mean, he likes helping people, things like that. You see he's kind of deteriorating. So he's going to this area. And, one thing I want to point out here, he's cutting his hand to attract bats. This particular species of vampire bat. Just want to say that's not how vampire bats work. They just usually rip out chunks of meat from the flesh of animals. And so just want to point that out.
I'm glad we're not getting hung up on the science in the comic book movie.
No. So I'm glad we're calling back some Batman Begins kind of stuff with all the bats circling around him.
I kind of thought the same thing. Yeah.
Now with the ship out here, I think he experiments with in calling the bats out. I think he also experiments with the bats on the ship, which leads to the change. So we get some people on the ship with guns searching the ship.
Yeah, it's kind. I mean, I don't feel like this trailer gives us a ton of the story. It's just really nothing we didn't already know, right? It's
Yeah.
he has his accident. He doesn't understand exactly what happened, but suddenly he's strong.
Yeah, so the shoot up scene on the boat, I don't think it's Morbius. I think it's the character who we'll see just a very quick scene about, played by Matt Smith as Loxias Crown.
Okay.
In the
Okay.
comics, he got vampiric powers after Morbius attacked him, but there's an energy explosion that gives him even more power. So while Morbius is trying to resist the urges, Matt Smith's character will embrace it. So I'm thinking this isn't Morbius.
I'm now thinking of Morbius on the Spider-Man show cartoon in the 90s with just going after the plasma.
Yep, yep. And here we got Tyrese plays a cop named Simon Stroud. In the comics, he's a former CIA agent turned NYPD cop that made a name for himself by hunting supernatural threats like Werewolf by Night, Werewolf by Midnight, and later Morbius. So,
Do you
and
think there's any chance we see Tyrese in another property after this movie?
well, I mean, he's Tyrese says this is connected to the MCU, so
I
if we're
mean,
gonna believe him at his word.
yeah. So I don't know. I know there's those rumors that Werewolf by Night was recently cast, and I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, sure. There's MCU, but those lines have been blurred, and they're gonna probably get more blurred in about 36 days. So
I want to pull back up this skyline. All right, right here, Horizon.
mhm.
We know Horizon from the comics, Brent. Why do we know Horizon from the comics?
Horizon Labs. Peter worked there for a while as really, I mean, a little bit Peter, but then mainly it was most of his time as the superior Spider-Man, Dr.
Hmm.
Octopus himself. And plus Horizon, there's a relatively recent Spider-Man cartoon show, which if you're a purist for the canon, don't watch it. Take some
Yeah.
severe liberties, but Horizon as a school is a big part of that too.
Hmm. And it's also, at the times Peter was working there, he also took Michael there to get a cure. Now, could this be where Morbius is working at too, or it could just be a simple Easter egg? Either one.
Either way is very possible, but I like that they included it.
Hmm. So he's getting his powers. Got this lovely bat radar. All right. So interesting enough, these formulas behind him. I caught a couple of, if I can pause it correctly. So these formulas behind him, I caught a few people talking about like their different weights in of silver. So he's possibly trying to find a way to cure himself of the vampirism, since this is the way to stop a vampire.
Sure.
So we're improving on the Daredevil radar.
Yeah, definitely was thinking that as
Yeah.
well.
So gliding on the wind coming up. Here we
Yeah,
go.
this shot right here, I really like that shot.
Oh
I
no,
think that looks really cool.
I was quite impressed with the CG that they did with this. So
Of course, there's a A on that train behind him. And I'm like, yeah, of course, it's just the A train.
oh,
But
look
I
at
was like,
this. We got an Oscorp.
yes. And Oscorp is one of the things that people are latching onto with like the ties to the other Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm. So we got it January. All right, so here we go. We've got this is actor Jared Harris, and he's talking to Michael. We don't have a cast. I haven't found exactly who he is yet. Could he be here? I want to propose an idea for you, and you might like this. You might hate it. Could he be Miles Warren, aka the Jackal?
I love it. I love it. I mean, what amazing comic event is the Jackal a massive part of?
The Clone
The
Saga.
Clone Saga. I love it. Make it happen. Make it happen.
Oh, hold on. Made it a little too big. There we go.
I love that idea.
Mm-hmm. All right, you can't see it on here, but we'll help you out there. So we got the Daily Bugle, same masthead as the Raimi trilogy. Um,
Mhm.
we got some headlines off the bylines in the sense in finding the truth in his own words. Could this be Eddie Brock article on Cletus Cassidy? We got Rhino on the loose, Zoo hoax fools us all. So from the the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and Black Cat, friend or foe. So a lot of Spider-Man callbacks.
Yeah, and again, just the Oscorp logo is basically the same way as
Yep.
what we saw it in the Amazing movie, and now we have Daily Bugle from the Raimi movie.
Mhm. Right here, look, we've got us. Tyrese has got something on his arm. Simon Stroud. He's got a little mechanicism, and I wonder if he's been bit. And this is a way to keep the virus at bay for him.
So, bit by who would be a good
Yeah,
question.
exactly. So they make a comment here, like we haven't had anything this good since the thing in San Francisco. Are we referring to Venom? Is this
Have to be,
confirmed?
have
Is
to
it?
be.
Are we confirming that this is in the Venom verse? Kind of, maybe.
I mean, they directly refer to Venom later in
Mhm.
this trailer. So when you tie to the San Francisco event, has to be.
Yeah.
I don't see how that could be anything other than Venom.
So yeah, so we get Matt Smith here coming in. It's the only look we get. So this is the infamous kind of thing we've seen from the teaser trailer. So it's the Raimi
Raimi
Spider-Man, but the
suit.
video game
Yep.
Raimi. So saying
The
murderer on there.
the loading screen from Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah. So we'll see what is with that. Oh, here we go. Thing I'm most looking forward to how this is connected.
Yeah, and you got to wonder like how long is he, have we seen most of his scene now? Like is this it? He's
Yeah.
got the one scene. I wondered prior to this trailer like if this scene would even make the final cut because who knows what kind of deals were made for Marvel and Sony since this movie
Hmm.
was filmed what 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever they would have been done with
Yeah.
production, it feels like. But I'm very, very curious about this, and I'm not going to be upset at all about more Michael Keaton. And I know some people don't like the idea. I'm willing to accept these blurred lines, if you will, between them
Hmm.
to keep Spider-Man in the MCU, to keep the Spider-Man cast of characters in the MCU. I'll accept Morbius because I'm kind of looking at it as like, there's there were the TV shows like there was Shield, but there was also like the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, right? And it seemed like TV was getting characters that the movies didn't want. And I'm kind of being like, well, I don't really know if they would have busted out Morbius anytime soon or not. So I don't care.
Hmm.
Let them play around with it. It's fine with me.
The line between hero. All right, so we haven't seen too much of her in this trailer, but Martine Bancroft is played by Adria Arjona, I believe. Uh, Looks to be kind of guarding Morbius who's in containment chamber,
Mhm.
so maybe trying to work on a cure. This is the girlfriend and secretary of Dr. Michael Morbius, so looks to be the love interest, and they're keeping that character. I mean, they definitely have got the look of Morbius down. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, I have zero complaints about the look of it. Like these shots right here, I
Mhm.
think they look really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing this. I mean, hot take, I actually like this trailer. I
Oh no,
know
yeah.
a lot of people don't. I'm like, no, I like the first one. I like this one. Maybe it's just because Morbius isn't really a character that I feel like this massive love and attachment for. It's like I've read, like he's had one or two solo books that I've looked at. I only really seem to read him when he's involved with the other Spider-Man related
Mhm.
characters. I think it's cool. I don't know. It
Yeah.
looks fun.
Yeah, the joking line saying, "I'm Venom." No, it's just your good friend, Michael Morbius. How can I help you? So so it's in January. We don't have I don't think we have a specific date in January yet, but,
See, I thought we did. I've looked stuff up on it, and January 28th is the
okay.
date that I found.
I'm surprised why they didn't put it there, but whatever. I did see an interesting take from Ryan Airy over at Screen Crush. He had an idea that he was saying, could the end of Loki that led to the branches made the spaces between the multiverses to become thin, which led to the elements of each universe to bleed into each other. And normal people don't notice because the reality is constantly being reshaped around them. Hence, all the blurring of Raimi and the Amazing Spider-Man universes in this movie.
I mean, do I think that Sony had all that in mind when they made this movie? No, not necessarily. But do I feel like that's possible now? Like they could have effectively retconned it behind the scenes? Yeah, I do. And I mean, because of Spider-Man No Way Home, presumably people on the Sony side of things knew at least something about Loki and something about the multiverse in the MCU, allowing them to maybe potentially set it up and from there go with it. And it could be one of those things that as long as the Sony movies don't do anything to directly contradict the MCU proper, that Feige's just going to throw him a bone and let it happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm just catching up on the chat here. Fanboy Clay, Morbius breakdown, didn't that happen like a month ago? Tisk tisk. I don't know. When you go through a week like we've been, it feels like a month ago. It's just been a week.
We had a movie last week.
Exactly.
We had a movie last week.
Morbius takes place in the good God. What is that? Oh my gosh.
The RTAS MMCU PUMC universe. That's about right.
Yeah. Fanboy Clay, I didn't know Green Lantern was in the Sony universe.
Hey, whatever it takes. I'm ready to stay.
Knows all the bats except for the name of the echolocation.
I think that's because you called it Sonar.
I did.
I'm going to let that one go.
Yeah. Thank you, though. That's probably, yeah, I'll know all about bats. But yeah, you did. You got me on that one. Obviously, they're talking about Ant-Man. Of course. And Fanboy Clay, we have seen like 3 different looks at Morbius, the vampire in this trailer. Will there be a defined look or will it look different dependent on the usage of his powers? I will say, I think that final look that we got, like of him, like that all out vampire, it's all about how much the bloodlust is there for him. So I think as he's more and more cannot satisfy the urge or find a way to satisfy it, the vampire side of him comes more and more out.
Yeah, I thought it was one of 2 things. One, it's how far he's progressed into his vampire form, which presumably the further and further we go into the movie, the more and more advanced he will be. Or it's how far he lets himself lose control.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if he is able to retain control, maybe he doesn't vamp out as far.
Yeah. As Bob said in the trailer, Morbius says Bat Radar instead of. That's why I said that. Oh, okay. Well, you can still call me out because I said it too. So, all right. So January 28th. Yes, we will review this. We'll see exactly how they try to connect this. If they try to, with like you said, the movie's been in the can for a while. So how much connected is this to No Way Home? We don't know. We'll see. But they got my money. At least one viewing. Maybe all the viewings I get of it.
I mean, I was talking about viewings and stuff with my wife the other day, and this was in relation to Spider-Man. But yeah, it's like for Morbius, the first tickets, it's done. All I needed to know was Marvel movie, right? It's the second ticket they have to earn. I told my wife with Spider-Man, it's more like the 4th ticket they have to earn. It's like I've already got planned out for 3 viewings of it. So that one.
Exactly. Let's not get it too ahead of us, Sony. At that point, you've got us maybe for a couple, 2, 3, maybe 4 tickets for No Way Home at that point. But but this one, you're gonna have to do a little extra work for us.
I mean, I don't anticipate seeing Spider-Man No Way Home 4 times in 3 days like I did Avengers Endgame, but I do have a good solid 3 times in 5 days figured out that I could definitely make work.
True. All right, so let us take our first ad break before we get into a lot of the quick hits of the news from the last 2 weeks. So, as you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud, so I'm going to give you that 3 count before they come on so you can turn on that volume. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, so one of the things, and the only thing, we'll probably talk about with Spider-Man No Way Home is we didn't get a trailer. We got leaks, but we kept on waiting on Sunday. Something's going to happen. A new poster is going to drop. And then earlier before that, we saw some posters in Australia that we were wondering, okay, if it's going to be that, then we've seen it. So then we get this. So similar to what we've gotten, but with a few couple of extras in it. What are we seeing in this poster?
Yeah, and for the record, I like the poster on the bus that they showed, which it was
Mhm.
this effective same post. So it's like whatever, it'd be fine. I just wish the marketing had gotten ahead of them putting it out there on
Yeah.
buses and stuff. But in this, they've definitely changed the background, and there's flat out like Doctor Octopus arms. Like there's no questions, there's no alluding to it. That's what those are.
Yep.
And then over on the right, towards the right, is definitely the William Dafoe Green Goblin suit.
Mhm.
The Power Ranger suit returns.
With the
Terrible suit,
mask.
but you know what? That's okay. I will take it to see William Dafoe back again as Green Goblin because wow, was that a great performance? Those are the two like overt ones.
Yes.
But there are other allusions here, like the sand in the background, right? People are saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, of course, that means Sandman." The lightning, oh, Electro, right? Which
Well, it's not just any lightning, it's yellow
yellow
lightning at
lightning,
that.
yeah.
So that's very specific. We don't see too much yellow lightning.
Which is nice because Jamie Foxx's lightning was blue. He was more like the ultimate version of Electro in Amazing
Mhm.
Spider-Man 2. And I'm pretty sure when he, dropped the ball a year ago that he was going to be in the movie, he referenced he wasn't going to be blue again or something along those lines.
And then Tom says the other day, a couple days ago at that point, he
Yeah,
does
he mentioned
reference,
it.
he
Yep.
says working with Alfred and Jamie. So
Not
thanks,
that
Tom.
Jamie. It could be a
Not that
different Jamie. Totally
could
different
be
Jamie.
totally different Jamie. So yeah, so this is the official poster. So movie theaters, you yeah, he said yeah, exactly. That's stuff. Yeah, he directly called him out, but he didn't say Fox. He did say Jamie, but there's not many other Jamies, if at all, that he's comparing to working with Alfred Molina on. So movie theaters, you have your official poster. You can maybe combine those fan posters in this one, but you finally got your wish. That's probably the only poster you're going to get out of Sony. Again, Sony marketing, we need to talk about your marketing.
I I hope we get some character posters. I like character posters. I like seeing them. Normally we'd get like, before the Eternals, a month or whatever, you get a character poster for each Eternal, right?
Mhm.
Avengers Endgame, those really cool character posters honoring the fallen or avenge the fallen. I hope we get some character
Yeah.
posters because even if it's after the movie's out, I want to see the character posters, the three of them side by side of our three Spider-Man.
Mhm. No, it would
I
be
really
good.
hope they see that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And you just look what Andrew Garfield's saying these days. It's no
We'll
longer
see.
straight.
We'll
We'll
see.
see. We'll
Yep.
see. So all right. So moving on from the No Way Home poster, we did have a movie last week with Eternals. Let's break down that box office for the listeners.
Yeah, so $71 million opening 3-day weekend. Really, really strong. We're still kind of figuring out like what a pandemic box office, what a strong pandemic box office looks like. And I feel like right now, comfortable saying, hitting that 70 million number is good, solid, because we've had several of those now. Eternals is the fourth highest domestic opening of the pandemic. Venom at 90, Black Widow, I think it was 80, 85. Shang-Chi at 75, and then Eternals at 71. That Black Widow, by the way, number is not including Premier Access. Globally, I looked this morning, and the latest number I saw was 170. But that was on Box Office Mojo, and they don't always update during the week as often, if at all. So it could be a little higher than that. It's off to a strong start. Apparently, it had around a $200 million budget. So they still have a ways to go before it would be considered, like profitable. And it's debatable, like what point that hits. There was a rule of thumb pre-pandemic that everyone went by of roughly 3x the budget. Frankly, I don't think they're going to get to 600 million. So maybe it's not that, but you've got the home release sales and value added to Disney Plus and stuff. So it's fine. I think there's a question to ask of one, is there going to be a sequel? And two, if so, will it be directed by Chloe Zhao?
Yeah, that's what I kind of put in our show notes. Like, how do we look into these numbers? How closely do we assume a lot of things for? We did see at the end of it, the Eternals will return, and I've got a kind of a factor fiction regarding that this week. I think I'll put it out there. I think we will get an Eternals 2. I don't see Chloe Zhao directing it, not necessarily because not directly related to the performance of this, but I think, if rumors are true that she's going to be moving on to Star Wars at that point, she may be more tied up with that and maybe wanting to do, like a lot of, you look at your directors that have done these movies over and over again. It ties you up a lot.
Mhm.
in the sense of what you do, and not just like, well, they say that's every movie. Not necessarily every movie is like Marvel and what is required of them. And the fact that she put all this out there, I would love to see her come back. I've, again, if you've got a very divided fan base that loved this movie, didn't love this movie at that point. But it brought something very different to what many people who have criticism about the MCU have really loved it. Some people who look at MCU for a different version, they're kind of so-so on this or don't like it. But again, I, as Brent and I said in the review, we definitely like this movie. It's not in our top tier. It's definitely nowhere near the bottom of our tier, but it I would say she probably doesn't come back to direct Eternals 2, but I wouldn't be upset if she does.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what she would do with the sequel. I I don't necessarily feel like directing is the hangup. Like my hangups with the movie, I feel more come down to the actual script than
Mhm.
they do the direction. I don't really have direction complaints. And this first movie had a massive, massive task of introducing 10 major characters to the
Yeah.
movie, plus an 11th in Dane Whitman, plus, Crow, if you will, plus the valet. It, there are so many characters in here. And not that there's not new characters in every movie, but if sequel came in, presumably they would not have to introduce your core cast again. We would know
Mhm.
who they are. And I feel like that alone would make a big difference. That said, I can't rule out the possibility of maybe they let a movie sit for a little while, but bring the cast back. Either have them show up in other cosmic properties. Like I would not at all be surprised if somebody from the Eternals showed up in Guardians of Galaxy Volume 3, or let's do something on Disney Plus with them. Everybody really liked Druig and Makari. Let's get them together in a adventure on Disney Plus. I'd be totally into that.
Yeah, it would be, there's a lot of different directions they can go with the Eternals at this point. They will return at that point. I would take that. The fact that they're calling that out, I think Eternals 2 is happening. It's just it may be a little bit further down the line right now, but I think that it is happening.
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm totally missing something, Marvel has never said something will return and not followed up on it. I
Oh,
can't think
at
of a
least with the
single
movie.
incident.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they haven't done that in the TV. The TV shows, none of those had a will return.
I thought
I mean, Loki had a will have season 2.
Captain America and the Winter Soldier, Captain.
That ended with just the title card, but
Okay,
changing from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to
gotcha.
Captain America
Okay,
and the Winter Soldier.
gotcha. For some
Never
reason,
actually said will return.
that's true. That's true. All right. Well, we'll follow up that Eternals breakdown with some Eternals coming back at that point. Eternal Selma Hayek has come out and said that she has signed up for multiple Marvel films. Recently joined the Celebrity Small Talk podcast, where she revealed that she has signed up for multiple Marvel Studios films. The host also took to Twitter to share her full quote, which is, "I did sign up for multiple movie deals. It was kind of fun being a part of this secret society that you have to protect so fiercely." So interesting confirmation. Spoiler alert: 3, 2, 1. Ajax dies in the film, and we see a lot of going back and forth. But as we see with these Eternals, dying is in quotes. Consciousness can be moved to another very similar thing. So what do you think? Are we going to see Ajax return to the present day, or are we going to see more flashbacks?
Honestly, probably both, because the Eternals has this the big machine, the great machine, something like that, which is basically how they get resurrected, right? Like that's
Hmm.
more or less what they alluded to that when they talk about, you fulfill your goal on this planet, you get enough life that the celestials born, and then you yourself are mind wiped, reset, reborn for the next round. That's effectively what the great machine in the comics does. If an eternal dies, they're able to come back to that. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I saw a spoiler about the latest issue of the Eternals comic book that I thought was so interesting related to that I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and read this most recent run. I wasn't sure I was going to. I'm only one issue in, but I'm like, I'm gonna add to library because there it is on Marvel Unlimited, and
There you go.
in a couple months it'll all be there for me. But the Great Machine is a thing, so I don't necessarily believe any of the Eternals who died are off the board again. I feel like we could see any of them.
Yeah, and it also may, going back to Chloe Zhao, might have, I would think, have worked with Marvel Studios to map out these characters' future.
Mhm.
So, even if she doesn't return as director, they've definitely worked out a blueprint for these
Right.
characters that have survived. Um, there we go. SBub, she'll be back in What If for sure. Maybe she'll get revived. Yep. Fanboy Clay, her memories could easily be put into a new Selma Hayek body. Yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
that's effectively
a-
what.
and with this, there are a lot. When you sign up for a Marvel movie, they do lock you into multiple deals, whether those deals come through or not. But being that a actress of Selma Hayek's level, this is someone that they want to kind of continue working with at that point.
Sure, sure.
So, all right. So, our next, we'll move on from the Eternals to a big rumor that dropped this week that revolves around the Black Panther sequel, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And this is coming from the Cosmic Circus that it is, their sources are saying that they will reportedly introduce T'Challa and Nakaye's son to the movie. I think I'm pronouncing Nakoye.
Nakia?
Nakia, sorry. Okoye. Yeah, I'm mixing up the two. Nakia, sorry.
Yeah, you are.
Yep.
Okoye Nakia.
Yeah, Nikki. And so Nakia's son. So obviously this is happening in between the time. If this rumor is to be true, T'Challa and I'm gonna get this right. Have a son. It will be introduced. It will not be, from what they're saying, the son will not take on the mantle in this movie, but doesn't say anything for down the line. It is something maybe they're just using to, at least right now, to honor the memory of T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, and continuing on the possible future for this. I mean, what do you feel about this idea of this son being introduced in this movie?
I'm I'm fine with it. I'm open to it. I know he has like a son in the comics,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the extent of my knowledge about it. I know nothing about it.
Because
My
wasn't it
black
isn't it the son of T'Challa and Storm, I believe?
I believe you're right. And even that it's like I haven't read I don't think I've read any of those issues directly. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about the character. I assume this this child would likely have to be aged up at some point. But, we don't know when they were born. Maybe I don't know the status of Nakia in the blip. Was she snapped? But
Mm-hmm.
she could have presumably had the child prior to that, and then there's the 5 year jump. So I mean, the kid could be somewhere in the five to 10 range. I guess. I'm open to it. This movie is, call it what it is. It's not the movie they were intending to make originally for
Correct.
several reasons, and then there's other delays and stuff that have happened with the movie. I'm willing to just kind of roll with it at this point. It's like, just give us what they can, give us their best. I trust Ryan Coogler. I trust the team. They're going to come up with something awesome. And if it's a young Black Panther Junior, for lack of a better name, then I'm into it.
Yep, and as Fanboy Clay says, Young Avengers, more Young Avengers on the horizon. Again, like you keep on saying, aging up later on down the road, similar to what they've done with Cassie Lang and Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania.
Mhm.
So, this could be just, again, further building the group. How much is the son going to be present in the movie? Is it going to be just a few minutes here or there in the beginning and then moving on to the main part? We'll just have to see. But that was an interesting kind of rumor that got brought forward. So we will have to see. Next up down the list, we have, pulling up the notes again. Gael García Bernal is set to star in Marvel's Werewolf-Focused Disney Plus Halloween special. This is an exclusive coming from The Wrap. So, Golden Globe winning actor previously starred in M. Night Shyamalan's old Netflix The Wasp network and Pablo Larraín's Emma. The Latino actor. Next project is HBO's Max's Station 11 and a series based on Emily St. John Mendel's hit novel. Bernal also played Hector in 2017's Coco, where the actor famously sang the award-winning song Remember Me. The Wrap unveiled that the character may be based on Werewolf by Night. I will say more than likely based on Werewolf by Night, but the full plot details are kept under wraps, so this is this rumor we've heard of a special on Disney Plus next Halloween that will feature the character Werewolf by Night as one of the main players. But with the Moon Knight show, Blade coming forward, maybe we're hearing Werewolf by Night being a cameoed, the actor being cameoed in Moon Knight. Like a lot of things are be cameoed in Moon Knight, it seems these days.
They're setting something up here for sure. And
Midnight Suns.
Right? I mean, that's what it seems like it's coming. And Werewolf by Night. All right, cool, awesome. How deep is this bench for Marvel that we are now looking at Werewolf by Night and absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily like as Bob says, not based on Werewolf by Night. He probably is Werewolf by Night. Exactly. It's
I mean, go back 10 years ago, which was what, 2011. So that's like Captain America, the First Avenger. Did you ever think we'd be talking about Werewolf by Night?
If at that rate, then I'm telling you right now, Squirrel Girl has a big shot in the MCU. If we are casting Werewolf by Night,
we're getting Werewolf by Night before I get Nova. That's a crime. I'm going to put that out there.
Maybe.
But I will get over it.
Maybe. Rumors are believed. Hopefully Nova's coming soon.
It'll happen eventually.
It will. So yeah. So congratulations again. My kids love Coco, number one. So his voice, and I've not seen Old. I've seen a little bit of bits and pieces of Wasp Network, but I think he's gonna, welcome to the MCU. If you are Werewolf by Night, congratulations. Get ready for a wild ride, especially in the Midnight Suns category. All right, our last bit of news is something that was supposed to premiere Friday, but it looks like Disney Plus Day, Disney decided to do this early. Avengers Endgame and 12 more MCU movies are to be released in IMAX on Disney Plus. Now, this is big. I didn't even see any of this kind of coming. This kind of came out through Variety is reporting, and it is true that Disney will be releasing 13 of their MCU films in their original IMAX ratio on Disney Plus starting Friday. Actually, now it is today, Thursday, November 11th. And the movies that will be available in the IMAX ratio include Iron Man, Guardian of the Galaxy, Volumes 1 and 2, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Black Widow, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. If you go actually to any of those films, but particularly Shang-Chi, I just looked it up just on the off chance, say, hey, maybe they dropped Shang-Chi a day early. Nope, sadly not. It does come up with the IMAX presentation under the stuff. So
I'm looking at Avengers Endgame right now. I sent you a screenshot of it. There's a new version section. You had suggested extras, details. Now there's a versions. And like for this, they show you the same shot, and basically there's the widescreen version or the IMAX. And it's true that if you go to the IMAX version, it's a little bit cut off the sides for most of the scenes, especially if it's a movie that wasn't shot or a scene that wasn't shot in the IMAX format. Like Iron Man, like they didn't shoot Iron Man in IMAX. So I'm not really sure I want to see that movie in IMAX. But Avengers Endgame had a whole bunch shot in IMAX.
I think it wasn't it? Infinity War and Endgame were both entirely shot in IMAX.
I think you're right about that. And so I am curious about what that'll look like. And I'll probably fire up Portals or something and check it out for a couple minutes. That's usually like I want to see the new format, test the new sound, whatever. That's usually my go-to scene. Mm-hmm. So I will probably do that when we're done here tonight.
Oh, yeah. So in the future, the companies have said that Disney Plus's collaboration with IMAX provided additional audio and visual enhancements, including immersive IMAX signature sound by DTS. IMAX and Disney Plus celebrated the announcement with a lot of promotional videos. The Russo brothers took to Twitter in celebration of this new edition and sharing a video of Anthony Russo giving fans the good news. This is really cool. I don't think we've ever had necessarily a partnership like this through IMAX with a streaming service, let alone, a major company.
No, what I was reading said this is the first time. Of course, you could get the IMAX format for some home release Blu-rays, things like that. But for a streaming service, like Netflix doesn't have this. HBO Max doesn't have this. It's the first time they've done it. But my understanding is this also is not exclusive. So I would assume that unless Disney ponies up a lot of cash to make it exclusive, we could probably look for this coming to HBO Max and presumably Netflix and stuff as well.
Fanboy Clay, stop it. Stop it.
I
So
mean,
happy Zack Snyder invented IMAX for this to
I mean,
happen.
he's the blueprint, right?
It is. Stop it.
Worth noting though that this is not. I get the joke there, Clay, but just because I saw people talking about it, this is not the same like 4:3 aspect ratio that the
Correct.
Snyder cut is in. So it's like it's not a comparable thing. They were shot differently, which is why they're going to look different.
Yeah, and he knows that. He's just having some fun with us.
Yeah,
so.
but he absolutely. Clay definitely knows. He's knowledgeable about this stuff,
Yeah.
even though he doesn't really like DC that much. But regardless, I saw tons of other people talking about this on Twitter before I said, nope, I'm out of here. And I'm like, guys, the ratios are totally different. But he's right. We should all be thankful that Snyder gifted us with the IMAX ratios.
And you know what? Again, they're definitely ponying up money to have this be the first at that point. But it does create that, I don't see Disney opening it up as an exclusive because it's just, I don't think the general audience is demanding something like this. It's cool for people like us that really kind of get into this, but when you look at a general audience member, they'll notice, but they're not going to really get so excited about it.
And I think it's cool, and I imagine at least for most newer movies, I will, if I'm rewatching them, I will watch the IMAX version. But I have always been able to like that's been like one area that I've never been like a purist about. I'm like, whatever. I go to the movie that fits my time first, and if the IMAX fits it, great. If it doesn't fit my availability, then I don't. So
yeah, so
whatever.
But yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out. I'll definitely check it out this weekend because this will be the first time Aaron is going to see Shang-Chi this weekend. So we will be doing that on Saturday night to watch that while eating some dinner while the kids are in bed. So thank goodness for that. All right. So that is all the news this week. We had a lot of quick hits. So we're going to take our last ad break for the night. So again, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So I'm going to give you that 3 count to turn that volume down. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. So we did get some listener questions from our group, and even I dropped a fun listener question that we'll save for the end. So why don't you start us off there, Brent?
Yeah. First up from Clay, with the MCU diving deeper into subgenres of heroes such as the Eternals and the Guardians going cosmic, Black Knight, Moon Knight, Blade, and possibly Sony stuff going supernatural, are we getting to a place in the MCU where you no longer, quote, have to watch everything, or will everything still be connected? I think that answer is yes to both of those things.
Yeah, I think it's getting to the point that, yes, things are going to connect to each other, but the connections are going to be here and there, better acknowledgement than Netflix. But if you're going to really want to focus on the cosmic side, yeah, you can just watch straight cosmic and then maybe do a little catch up before you have a big event. Like something, if we're to believe everything that's going on, Kang is going to be the big bad of this next couple of phases of the MCU. So at some point, you're going to have to catch up on a little bit here and there, but it won't be necessarily required viewing.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this idea of like different tracks before or subgenres, like Spider-Man is clearly with the multiverse side, which is where Loki is, which is where Wanda's headed, the multiverse and magic. And then, of course, the cosmic stuff with the Guardians, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Hawkeye are your more street level things. I do think that for those who are overwhelmed by it, like, for example, there were 9 installments of the MCU this year, counting Hawkeye and Spider-Man. I think for those who are overwhelmed, if they want to just stick to their favorites, I think there's room to do that. I really do. That said, we'll be watching everything. So any connections that do happen between them, I'm into it.
Oh yeah, it'll be, but I think that's the thing that the MCU is not going to ever let go about totally losing connected. There may be a time where they release maybe a movie that's not connected or something like that. I think that could be a possibility, but the whole of the MCU is based on connectivity, for good or bad.
You could argue they did it twice this year. Eternals, sure. They told you what you needed to know about Thanos. Mm-hmm. And then Shang-Chi, yeah, sure, Wong and the Abomination had a cameo, but like you don't need to know who the Abomination is. I might even argue most people don't know who that was, don't realize
Yeah.
they've seen him before, because that was from the lowest grossing movie of the entire MCU, and so
Yeah.
not nearly as many people saw it. And then you have Wong, people probably recognize him, but if you didn't see Avengers Endgame or you haven't seen Doctor Strange, okay, he's just some magic user. Well, that's no more out of place than the rest of the movie.
Yeah. So, all right, what's our next one?
Travis Hines, speaking about the Spider-Man leaks, but to be clear, we're not talking about them directly, more the concept of them. Is this the most leaks we have ever gotten before an MCU has even screened to critics or trades? And why is this Sony's fault?
All right. So, the most leaks we've ever gotten for an MCU ever has ever even screened to critics or trades. I don't know. I can't like put a number on it necessarily. I haven't keep track. It feels like it probably because it's been the most recent. I will go back to Endgame in the sense of there was a lot of stuff in Endgame that I'm surprised that they were able to keep under lock and key.
Well, and there was Endgame did have a big leak a few weeks prior, the 4chan leak or whatever that came out, which is what for me prompted me to go off Twitter for that movie. And I haven't gone back and looked at that in detail to know how much of it was accurate, but I've had people tell me it was fairly accurate. But the most, I don't know, but he's sort of joking, sort of not about it being Sony's fault. But I will say this: I think to me, the more stuff they try to keep secret, the more valuable leaks are. And so, Fanboy Clay wasn't in-game uploaded to random sites. Actually, that does sound familiar to me. So I don't know if that was before the movie itself came out, but it was early for sure, maybe before. But regardless, the more stuff they try to keep secret, the more valuable a leak is. So like there was none of this stuff happening with like Shang-Chi, but there was tons of marketing. There was none of this happening with Black Widow, but there was tons of marketing, right? There's the only leak that happened with Eternals was really where there was also tons of marketing was from the premiere because the one guy decided he was just going to spoil the credit scene for everybody. It's different. Like Avengers Endgame, they kept stuff so secret. Like they were more secretive about that than they were Infinity War. Spider-Man No Way Home, they're trying to be super secretive, and it's almost like they're at the point where you can make an argument if they would give up a little more information officially, people would be less likely to dig into the leaks. I don't know if that's true, but it feels like it.
No, I think that's like you said. I think the more secretive you are, the more possibility of people will release leaks because they can make a lot of money from it. And the idea that hey, it's almost again, it's like the magician. The trick is only valuable, but until you tell people what's going on, everyone knows at that point it's not as well. Now, we talked about this in our chat a number of times. There's a difference between, we have talked about on this show since the beginning, like lots of rumors, like Brent and I, Travis and I, we've all talked about like, okay, Toby Andrew might be in this movie, Jamie Foxx might be in this movie, that, all the different rumors. It's one thing to talk about the rumors, but then to see an image, which neither one of us have seen said images, to see it out of context and not in a trailer, not in the movie, that ruins the moment for us. It's different when it's an officially released thing that we can then guide. I'm not saying trailers do things in context. We know trailers put things out of order and try to tell a story within the trailer, but that ruins the moment for us. And that is what we are trying to avoid, both of us here, in which case, when leaks get put out like this, it frustrates us. That's why we are doing the responsible thing of removing ourselves from Twitter in hopes that whatever leaks happen this week, if a trailer does come out next week, these leaks will be in there, maybe.
Yeah, and to be clear, before we go on to Travis's other question, if I go on Twitter and I see one of these leaks, it's my fault. Yes. I know they're out there. It's my fault. Now, I don't think people should be sharing them when the content's not even publicly available officially yet. But it's still my fault because I know they're out there. His other question, how can we prevent things like the No Way Home leaks from happening? If you leak a photo or trailer as a scooper, should you be banned from premieres going forward with strict NDAs with millions of dollars in penalties? That's tough because like scoopers don't necessarily go to the premieres.
Correct.
It wasn't a scooper that put out the credit scene for Eternals. It was invited media
From Variety.
From Variety. I don't know. I'm hesitant to use the word journalism because I don't necessarily think of it as journalist, but media reporter, whatever, I guess. Regardless, it was somebody there like for Variety. That was a major trade. And so do I think that person who did that should be barred from future premieres? Yeah, I kind of do think that. Do I think Variety in general should be? No, I don't, because it's a major trade. That's a major source of actual advertising, and really free advertising for Marvel movies, for comic book movies, and major blockbusters. Do I think Scooper should have a penalty if they honestly? This might be weird. I don't necessarily think they should. I mean, if the Scooper themselves are not under an NDA, if they're not under anything like that, I mean, ethically it's a different question, but that's the business they're in. That's what Scoopers are. They find out information before it's available, and they tell you, and you have to decide which ones you're going to trust, who you're going to follow. Now, if somebody was given information under the premise, like a set visit where people get to go to do set visits and the press gets to come, and then there's an embargo on that information. Now, if they release that information prior to the embargo, yes, I do believe there should be some kind of penalty. Do I think it should be financial? I don't know the legalities of that kind of thing, so I can't speak to it. But if I'm Marvel and you leak and you put out something from inside, like from an embargo, if you break an embargo date, you're not coming to the next thing. You are blackballed, and probably for good.
And that's what, I'll use Brandon Davis as an example. He kind of talked about this this week on Phase Zero, that, he's been to set visits, prior to pandemic at that point. That is the thing that they tell you. You sign the NDA, and then when they say, okay, you can do your previews and talk about this is what you can talk about, and this is what you can't talk about. And, he brought up the idea of what was it? The Ironheart. He knew about Ironheart being in Wakanda Forever, but that's when he asked a certain type of question to Kevin Feige, and Kevin confirmed it. That's when he could say, "Oh, I've known about this, but until the man confirms it, until I can say something." That it won't be a financial penalty for Scoopers. You just won't be invited to whatever the set visit again. That's the financial penalty for your site, whatever blog. You don't get that scoop, so therefore you lose clicks on that and ad revenue.
Yeah, I'm not in the Scooper game. I don't get scoops. Yeah. I will tell you, I found out sort of about the Michael Keaton coming to the Flash thing like 12 hours before it became public, because another podcast friend of mine who will not be named, and no, they're not in any network I'm a part of, just to be clear, they found out about it, and they believed it was real, but they're like, I believe it's real, but I don't know that it's real. Well, that person would never tell me, like, they wouldn't lie to me, but I wasn't going to share it. Like, not my news to share. I didn't know if it was real or not. The only other time I guess sort of embargoed, I was given a part of a book to read once. I'll just say that I was given part of a book to read once, and I was basically entrusted with it, and the person wanted my feedback, and I appreciated the trust that they placed in me to do that. I will respect them by not leaking their book, by not saying what I was privileged enough and to read, other than, hey, I liked it, I'm ready for the rest of the book, let's go ahead and drop this. But I think, to me, like, I would never make it as a Scooper. Somebody would tell me this info, and I'd be like, okay, well, I'm not telling. I'll tell Brock in person when I see him, and that's it. Like, I'm not telling anyone this stuff because I can't. I would never make it as a Scooper. I hate spoilers. I hate them. And there's a debate over whether or not official marketing is considered spoilers, but that's where I personally draw the line. Now, I get to a point where I don't want to see any official marketing, but I don't think it's a spoiler if it's official marketing. So the fact that Green Goblin is on that poster for Spider-Man No Way Home, it's officially not a spoiler, in my opinion. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and again, I didn't get into doing podcast, at least on this network, to be the scooper. That we're basically regurgitating news and rumors that's already out there from scoopers, from other sites at that point, because we want to talk about it and discuss it and give it to you. So that way, if you don't want to read the stuff, we'll put it out there and give you your opinion, but we'll always give credit where credit is due. Again, I'm not going to give the person who did this this week at that point any name recognition than they already have at that point. I have my own personal opinions of them and what they cover at that point. But I'm with you at this point. Ethically, morally, shouldn't have been done. but that's what this person does for a living. They put out scoops, they put out things like that. Like it or not, I don't like it, but I also do the responsible thing that I don't follow this person. I don't go to their YouTube channel. I don't do certain things because of my prior stuff when I would see what they put out there. I don't care for it. And that's just me as a consumer. I choose not to do it. And if you are a fan of this person that does it, I don't think less of you. You have what you enjoy at that point. But again, I'm with you, Brent, that if they did get access to something and violated an NDA, that's one thing. Penalties should be done, whatever those may be. But if someone gave it to them where nothing that done, they're in the game for scooping. That's how they get clicks to your site, like it or not. That's how they make their living.
It just dawned on me. I realized something I said and how it probably sounds. Just to be clear, when I said I got a book, I'm not talking about a Marvel book. So I'm not talking about Sean McConnell's with great power. That's not the book I'm talking about. That said, Sean, if you want to share it with me, I'll be happy to read it.
Exactly. And I've gotten the same stuff too. I've had some people that have said, "Hey, I know this is going on." I said, cool. Or they usually preface me because they know my opinion on spoilers. Hey, I know some information about this. Do you want to know it? And sometimes I do. A lot of times it's like, keep that to yourself. I'd rather not know.
Yeah, behind the scenes, like when we were talking with Sean, like he gave us the materials he wanted us to see, but it's not like we got the book or anything like that. Just to be clear, like we haven't read his book. I would love to read his book, but we have not read his book. But
it's not the book. Yeah, sorry, I suppose it's not the book.
I don't even want to be a scooper. I want to be invited to the premieres. That's where I want to be. I want to see the movie early. That's what I want.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I like you said, when you got like a look at a book at that point, and I mean, it's just nice. It's nice to be considered in that, So, but as Bub's in there saying, in trailers sometimes show spoilers, be out of context. Death Dealer is shown getting his soul sucked out in Shang-Chi and a TV spot, but you wouldn't know that from the death until the movie. Yeah, again, they
TV spots.
Yeah, they TV spots. Yeah, I barely even watch TV spots.
I don't like them. I just don't like them. I'm like, no, there's 30 seconds and you're just showing me more and more. I don't watch them. It's not what I do. I think I'm like, just give me the trailers and then I don't want any other footage.
Yep. I mean, after I'm gonna go see Ghostbusters next Thursday. All right. I'm excited about it. I'm a Ghostbusters fan. Huge Ghostbusters. 4 p.m. I'm there on Thursday. Thank you, Katie. Katie from Slice of Film, Star Wars Alliance, because I put in our chat the final trailer drop. I hadn't watched it. Then she probably about an hour later says, just FYI, the trailer apparently does some big spoilers in the sense of beats that were in there. So I have not seen that and I don't want to see it. I didn't need to see it. I was more impressed a week before the movie comes out. They release a final trailer. Unnecessary, but I have stayed away from it because I'm good with what I've seen. I'm looking forward to it. So.
All right. You did mention having a question that you would come up with the show. So let's hear it.
Yeah. So what Marvel characters from comics and or movies would you want as your crew to go on a road trip with?
So after you suggested this to me, I talked to my wife about it because I was like, I got one like right off the bat. And I'm like, I'm kind of struggling. And while these my other two suggestions didn't come from her directly, she basically talked about people she likes in the Marvel movies and inspired it for me. So how do you want to do this? Do we want to name all three or just go one at a time?
Name all three. We'll do that.
All right. Would you like the honors since it was your question?
No, I will defer to you.
Well, the first one that I thought of right away was you got to have somebody who, for the record, I went all movie people. You got to have somebody good in a car, right?
Yep.
Katie from Shang-Chi, Aquafina.
All right.
I think she would be a blast to take a road trip with and just let her drive around. That said, road trips, you want to have fun. I don't know if we're going to make it to our destination, but we are going to have fun. And I just got to thinking about it more and talking with my wife. And I'm like, there was this one sort of trailer, sort of commercial advertisement that I just loved. And it had two people in it. And I think they would fill out my car quite nicely. Along with Katie, I'm going to go with Korg because Korg's hilarious. And Deadpool himself, the national treasure that he is. Korg, Katie, and Deadpool. Are we going to make it there? Probably not, but we'll have fun trying.
All right. Well, I will admit I do have one of your members in the car. I do have Deadpool in my road trip crew.
Great choice.
Great choice. My other two, my next one is the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum himself, will
There you go.
be there. And he knows how to party. I mean, again, it's my birthday. So we're gonna be traveling in style there. But my last member of my road trip crew, Howard the Duck.
Well, that took a turn. Very interesting.
And Howard the Duck in the proper sense, not Howard the Duck in that terrible movie. We're talking if Seth Green comics related Howard the Duck.
I was going to ask which Howard the Duck were.
Yes.
Are we talking about a specific incarnation of the character?
I will gladly take Howard the Duck from the comics any day.
There you go. So,
I
like it. It's fun. That's a different question. It's usually like pick your favorite 3 Avengers you want to see in the next movie. I'm like, those are fun, but this is totally different. I would never pick Katie in an Avengers movie or an Avengers team. But for a road trip, Team Katie.
Yep, Team Katie all the way. So, all right. So the fact or fiction from 2 weeks ago. All right. So number 1, the White Vision will return. This is from our guest from last week, 2 weeks ago. White Vision will return alongside Vision in a new buddy cop series entitled The Two Visions. 18% said fact, 82% said fiction. It's a fun idea. I think a lot of these were really fun ideas. Fact or fiction number 2, Black Widow will rise from the grave as a live-action Marvel zombie and haunt the MCU. 7% said fact, 93% said fiction.
I want to know who said fact on
that. Again, Adam really took this whole fact and fiction and really said, you know what, I'm going to get crazy with it. All right, the last one. This garnered a little bit more fact than the last 2. Quicksilver will get his own series where he runs backwards through time, hopping into moments from previous films, revealing a new point of view on previous events, similar to how Loki's series picked up from the moment inside Avenger. 33% said fact, 67% said fiction. So a little bit more.
That one feels more plausible, at least.
Yeah, that one feels plausible. And as was revealed, your fact or fiction, I believe we would hear Eternals will be the first time we hear the word mutant in the MCU. 43% said fact, 57% said fiction. I was hoping for. You might have been hoping for. It didn't happen.
I still think it could happen. You never know.
It could. I mean,
deleted scenes.
Deleted scenes.
Didn't happen. Okay. And it kind of arguably was already dead by the time I said that, because it dawned on me later. It's like, oh yeah, the word mutation was used in Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
It was. Yep.
And
yep.
Is that connected to the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse? Well, yeah, it is. So I arguably they get that honor.
Yeah, Joe called us out on that when it posted at that point. So I said, all right, we'll get there. All right, so my factor of fictions for this week. So we'll start off with my Eternals. I hinted toward this. So factor of fiction, Brent, we will see members of the Eternals again before Eternals 2.
Fact.
Now, where do you think we will see them?
Guardians Volume... Hang on, let me consult the release dates real fast, because I might be changing that. Okay, so Guardians is May 5th, 2023. No, I'm going to say Thor Ragnarok, or Thor Love and Thunder, I mean.
Okay, Thor Love and Thunder.
So
all right. That was my guess. That was my guess.
If it's not Thor, it will be one of those 2 movies. But I believe it'll be Thor, because like Kingo made the reference to hanging out with Thor when Thor was younger. Yeah. And Chris Hemsworth, he's funny. He's really funny. So I'd love to see Thor and Kingo just playing off of each other again.
And again, with the confirmation of Adam Warlock getting cast in Guardians Volume 3, that is a big thing with some of the Eternals, especially Star Fox coming into play as well, and Pip the Troll. So it would be interesting to see them. But we could see them in both, So, all right, the return, Factor Fiction number 2, the return of the Red Skull will come in Captain America 4.
Oh, man.
Now, I know rumors have come out, and they haven't really gained much traction, but there was a rumor this year that Sin, Red Skull's daughter, would be the main antagonist villain in the new Captain America movie. But I am hoping, and I've been on this train since the show started, Red Skull is coming back, and I think it's going to come back in Captain America 4.
If Sin is in the movie, I think that increases the chances. of
Mhm.
the Red Skull himself. Just to be clear, the Ross Marquand voiced Red Skull or Hugo Weaving himself?
Hugo Weaving's done. He ain't coming back.
I mean, I would agree. I just wanted to make sure we
Yeah.
were we
Mhm.
were speaking the same language here. You
Yep.
know what? I'm going to go ahead and say fact. And okay, part of that's because the heart wants it, but I actually think it makes a lot of sense, especially if they want to go further down the path with some themes that they were talking about in the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mhm. And I have said there is so much more the MCU can do. I mean, the comics have brought up Red Skull in so many different ways since Ed Brubaker's run brought him back into the forefront. Some good, some not so good, but the way that the Red Skull can be used in the MCU is so much more than what he's done. So I will continue beating that drum to bring back the Red Skull. And my last one, we will get a non-canon live action movie by Marvel Studios within the next 10 years.
Non-canon live
Non-canon,
action
live action Marvel Studios, not in association with Marvel Studios, a Marvel Studios produced live action movie that is non-canon.
fiction. I don't think it'll happen. I think the first time
Yeah.
that happens will be when they reboot the entire thing.
Okay.
If they reboot the entire
If they
thing.
reboot. Yeah, I think the only reason I kind of come to that is like the my hard idea in that sense, it could just be a fun one-off at that point, not canon. But as we keep on saying, what makes the MCU its own thing is the amount everything's canon that they put out there, even to some extent. What if is canon, you know?
I mean, what the MCU that does differently from everyone else is connected all.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's just another movie studio with a blockbuster comic book character. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. It could be a great movie, but what makes the MCU different is the connected nature of it.
Yeah. And again, we can get that way with animation. They can have their cake and eat it too with animation. Maybe that's how they get away with putting out their animated things that aren't canon because it's easy
Absolutely.
to do that.
Absolutely. And the question there, and maybe this would be a future Factor Fiction or should be, but if they were to do a non-canon animated project, do they put the Marvel Studios logo on it?
Hmm. They may have to create a new one, a new Marvel animated studios at that point. So yeah, catch that catch the fanfare if you haven't seen Eternals or you're seeing Eternals again. That fanfare has changed to feature some of the Phase 4 properties.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So all right. So we are heading to Comic Book Club. Hawkeye number 5. Yeah, 5 and 6.
So number 5 is the tape, right? Finishing up the 2-part videotape story. And I I really like how this issue was laid out. And I'll admit, a couple times I had to scroll back through and double check the timeline, okay, where are we at? But and or I guess that was more the next one, but just following through, I like and I'm picking up in some of this in the next issue too, is clearly the non-linear storytelling.
Yeah.
Matt Fraction, big fan, and I like it. I'm enjoying it, and that's something aspect that worked for Eternals for me here. It just the trust that Clint has as he jumps out this window
Oh my
and then
god.
he does get saved. He's like, "Oh, it worked out." But it's just I mean, this is it wrong to say it's fun? I don't know.
No.
It's just fun.
It's a lot of luck. You almost think like, man, you've got some of the domino powers of luck in you, bud, because there are so many different times that he should be dead, dead, dead in just this one comic alone.
I mean, there's that one awesome shot where, he's lost his shoe and he's standing on the back of whatever that vehicle is that Maria Hill is driving, whatever it's called.
Yep.
And he jumps through this window and lands. And then, the next panel, he's hobbling on one foot because he hurt. He's like, "Oh, I forgot I don't have a shoe on that foot." I'm like, it's ridiculous. And it's supposed to be this badass superhero moment, right? Jump through the window, save the
John
day.
McClane, baby. John McClane.
And then he just has a sock. He doesn't even have a shoe on that foot. It's just hilarious. It's clever, and the art is just charming as all get out.
Oh god, it just harkens back to so much the colors and the style of Darwin Cook, and David Aja has done such a good job with it. Especially, it's very popish feel too, with how they're running, all the different villains they're going after, and just the ridiculousness of what they're having to do against Madame Mask, and the fact of this whole thing with this tape that shows Clint killing this person, and you find out by the end, it's like, oh well, there were 3 tapes, and it was meant to protect these Navy SEALs, but we had one with Captain America, we had one with Wolverine, and then the one that got out was Hawkeye. I
I
was
want
like,
to
yeah,
see the Captain America one.
yep,
Like Wolverine, that's easy. You already know what he did. He slashed
yep.
those guys up. What did Captain America do? That's what I want to know.
Decapitate them with the shield, baby.
That's the first thing I thought of.
At least Hawkeye went for the eyes at that point with both so that was par for the course, but a good fun. And I think we've seen during the trailers like some kind of similar moments of this kind of sequence here.
Yeah.
Don't think it's a tape, but again, we know that there's going to be a lot of callbacks to that. So the next issue is a kind of changeover from the previous one. It's got 6 nights in the life of Hawkeye.
This is the one I got ahead of myself. This is the one with the non-linear storytelling in this particular issue, and I had to go back a couple times, but it was super clever the way they did it.
Mm-hmm. And just the paneling, just changing up how the paneling is done, it's very fun. I love the discussion that he and Tony have about, this whole thing is a mess. Let me just go out and buy you a whole new setup and solve this problem. It's a Christmas gift. And August said, I got money. It says, I know. What do you mean? Well, I know you have money. What are you talking about? You're saying money like it's a different thing.
Yeah. And then it cuts to earlier in the week, and it's Hawkeye teaming up with Spider-Man and Wolverine. And honestly, like it's just this cute little art. I'm going to use the word cute here, but it is. And it actually like kind of reminds me like that first panel of the 3 of them of like the old like Captain America and the Avengers video game from the 90s. I like that's what it looks like. And I loved it. I just was smiling as I was looking at these pages.
Yeah, and then the bros come back and kidnap Clint and basically say, get out of town, we'll kill you and kill everyone in the building if you don't get out of town. You've embarrassed us, this, that, and the other. And he kind of considers it for a bit and sends the bow to Kate, who's having nothing of it, saying, be the hero you are, stand up for yourself. I don't accept your gift.
Yeah, I just noticed Fanboy Clay in the chat just said Murphy dropped their first thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye, Be Vigilant. And actually, I saw a runtime report for those earlier too. Apparently, they're both north of 40 minutes, which is great.
That's kind of good to. I hope that's true, because I got a little worried when I saw like 30, like less than 30 minutes. I was like, ooh, I don't know about that for 6 episodes.
Yeah, but to get back to this comic, that scene you just mentioned when Kate brings the bow back and basically tells him, stick up for yourself, be the hero. That attitude that she just gave him, and basically how she's like, no, this is unacceptable, request denied, resignation is not accepted. I really hope we see that attitude in the show. I love that interaction.
The few non-spoiler stuff I've seen out there, since the people mostly that I usually follow for Twitter stuff and things like that, I did peek at Twitter just a little bit when they were dropping from people I trust that aren't going to drop spoilers, have been consistently praising Haley Steinfeld in the role. Like,
I mean, she's a great actress, so that's awesome. I mean, Dickinson season 3 just started recently, and I need to watch that still, but she's a great actress.
Yep. So, but yeah, great issues. I'm looking forward to see, the continuation of this story of him against the bros, the bro club.
Bro.
Yep. And, but yeah, so we will continue on our trek into this, issue 7 and 8 next week. So, all right, volume 77 in the books. So like we said, hopefully schedules hold something this weekend. We'll record our Disney Plus thoughts at that point. So just be on the lookout on both the GUA and solo feed. We'll drop it at that point. We're planning late Saturday night. It will not be a live recording just because we just don't want to put anything out there specifically, just because schedules might change last minute. So,
right.
But all right, so again, want to thank our sponsors, organicpricebooks.com. Again, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Again, thank you, OPB. And Manscaped, use that code GUA pod for free shipping and 20% off all your orders. So thank you both for being sponsors. And Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Yeah, Brent Tech Prime on Twitter. I will be back. And Fans Without Borders, my other show that I co-host, we just dropped an Eternals review last Monday, and then our next episode, which won't be recorded for a week, it's going to touch on probably a fair amount of Disney Plus Day.
Awesome. And all right, yep. And you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. Again, my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast, and you can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions. Again, we may be off reading Twitter, but if you are, again, stay away from the No Way Home stuff. If you've got questions you want us to pose on the show, fact or fiction at that point, DM us. If you're, again, be above board on that one. We'll check it out at that point, but just don't be a jerk when it comes to No Way Home stuff and Hawkeye stuff for that matter. Continue to rate, review the solo feed and the GUA feed on Apple Podcasts, whichever platform of choice may be. And again, thank you all for joining us in the chat. Thank you all listeners who are listening on the podcast. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Dan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. So there was one story we did not talk about because, it's hopefully going to drop tomorrow based on all the rumors and reports. But there is a very strong rumor that started last week, but really picked up steam today, that production will be starting on an X-Men animated series, whether it be a reboot or a revival of the one from the 90s, coming exclusively to Disney Plus, with production starting in 2023. So that just makes my heart flutter, because that series holds a very special place in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, but it got me thinking, and for our post-credits discussion tonight, I asked Brent to discuss our favorite Marvel animated series.
Yeah, and I kind of joked that, I got to figure out which one is the top one. Okay, I got it, but it really comes down to two for me, and I guess I have to give the nod to Spider-Man from the 1990s just because it's Spider-Man. But if anything is going to touch it for a Marvel series for me, I'm sure a lot of people are screaming about Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes right now. I'm going to say, though, X-Men from the 90s. One, the best theme song. Like, sorry, Spider-Man, but I like the Spider-Man theme song. Yeah. It's ridiculous, but that X-Men one is amazing. And if they do bring the show back, reboot, revival, totally different, I don't care. Just steal the theme song. Just use it. It's fine. But the
lawsuit is interesting. I'll tell
you that much. Those two are definitely my top two for Marvel Comics, but it's also like those were two of what I think of as the big four, including Batman and Superman from that time period, which, what a time for animation and comic books, right? I don't know if anything will ever top the four of those. I love those. Same with Superhero Squad. The Superhero Squad, that theme song is quite the banger. It's way better than it has any right to be. Yeah. Way better than it has any right to be. I don't know. What are a couple of your favorites?
Yeah, I mean, the Wolverine and the X-Men, it's a dark horse. I know some people have some problems with it, but we got a lot of very interesting characters that became comic book canon at that point with it. The X-Men
Isn't
Evolution.
That where X-23 comes from?
Yes, I believe so. Oh, no, maybe it was, or was it X-Men Evolutions? I can't remember.
Oh, maybe.
I think it was X-Men Evolutions.
Oh, you might be right. You might be right.
But I would say kind of my top three, and there's a tie for third. It's Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man are my tied for third. And it lasted for 26 episodes and ended on a cliffhanger. It's not on Disney Plus. I want that to be, because I want to go back and rewatch that series.
I haven't seen it. I've only seen part of it, and I've looked on Disney Plus a few times. Like, it's really not there.
Nope, it's not there. But my top two, Earth's Mightiest Heroes is number two. And what I will tell people, if you have not watched it, if you are a fan of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, the animated series, this is Marvel's version of that. Not just because of like, oh, well, of course, it's the Avengers. No. They bring in such dark horse, not only storylines, but characters, and they have so much passion for this. I mean, I think the first season is like almost 20 episodes. You know, it only lasted 2 seasons, but they touch on Kang, they touch on Doctor Doom, Thanos, like, they do stuff for animation that you say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're actually doing this," and like you, big surprise, X-Men: The Animated Series is my number 1 just because it is still, to this day, the only one that has gotten the Dark Phoenix saga right.
That's objectively accurate.
Yes.
I want to mention 2 Spider-Man shows that are probably people are gonna roll their eyes, but I'm gonna say it. The first one, Ultimate Spider-Man. I will tell you, when
Yeah.
I first tried that show out, it did not work for me. I'm like, it's just not for me. Then I rewatched a bunch of it with my son, and one, it's made for him. It's not made for me. And for little kids, it's great. Like all the stupid, ridiculous things they do, it's great. But I think that show genuinely does improve and get better as it goes on. The other
That
one
is on Disney Plus, though. That
it
I
is
know.
that
Yeah.
yes, because we watched a whole lot of it there. The other one that I wanted to mention, also on Disney Plus, is just called Spider-Man. And this is what I was referring to earlier with the Horizons thing and being part of a school. And I mean, this has it's got Harry Osborn, of course. It's got Gwen Stacy, but it's Spider Gwen. It's got Miles Morales. It's got Aranya. They did Spider Island. It is. Don't look for comic adaptation here. It's just they've just said we want Miles and we're going to do it, and even if it doesn't match the comic, so be it. We want Aranya, fine, we're going to do it. We're doing Spider Island. Dr. Octopus is one of their teachers for a while. Teams up with them for a little bit.
That.
It sounds ridiculous, and I will say the art style takes a little getting used to, but honestly, it's pretty good. Like it's a pretty cool alternate take on Spider-Man. So I would encourage people to check those out. If you haven't, give them a couple episodes. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Again, so many of this is outside of the, Spider-Man show I had mentioned. It is Spectacular Spider-Man. X-Men's all on there, Disney Plus. Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man's on there. Spider-Man from the 90s is on there. Like it just to even go back, like I just started tonight rewatching Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It just because to think about the question, I want to go back watch it because it has been a good long time since I've rewatched that since first run. So I'm excited about diving back into that. But hopefully we get that X-Men announcement confirmation tomorrow. If it's not, I'm still holding on to that rumor that it's true. And you go, it's 2023 production. I was talking with our friend and good buddy Travis Hines from Super Discussions. As he's right, as we know, animation takes a very long time to do. So even if it's starting production in 2023, I do not think we will see it until 2025. And that might be the time where we finally get X-Men in the MCU.
Okay, but before we start off, I have to ask Clay something.
Yep.
But yeah, I that's why I think we won't hear about the X-Men tomorrow because of the lead time on it. Okay, Fanboy Clay, PJ Masks with Spider-Man. Are you saying there's a crossover between those two? Because
my children watch that, and I have yet to see that.
My son loves PJ Masks, so that's I'm like, there is one. Okay, where is this on Disney Plus? Where do I find this? Because it's just me and him this week, and my wife and daughter are out of town. He would love to watch a PJ Masks with Spider-Man.
PJ Masks is on Netflix, so I will be searching that out, and my children are all into PJ Masks. I know that because they call Netflix. It's rather cute. They call it because white on red. They don't call it Netflix. They go, I want white on red.
I'm looking on YouTube right now and I'm seeing like references and stuff. So
okay,
Clay, help me out here. If they're if they actually did something, I want to see it because my son will love it.
Yep. No,
the Spider-Man and Friends or whatever it's called. Okay. Spidey and His Amazing Friends. Yes, a take on Spider-Man.
Okay.
That's a newer one. It went to Disney Junior first. Like they had little shorts for it on Disney Plus, but the whole first season is on Disney Plus now. And
my son wants to start watching that. He keeps on seeing it. He wants to watch it.
It is adorable. It is adorable. You should absolutely let your son watch it. And it's they call Miles Spin in it because for reasons in the show there can't be two people named Spider-Man. I won't spoil it for you, but it is adorable.
Gotcha. Well, maybe we'll do that for when they get their TV time this weekend. So that'll be fun. So, all right. Well, happy Disney Plus Day for those of you that are listening on Friday. For those of you that are still with us in the chat, good luck on Disney Plus Day. Hopefully we get some fun new stuff and look onto your feeds this weekend. We'll be dropping some fun. Stay safe, guys.
See you later.